Good afternoon and welcome. My name is John Pilot. I'm the Assistant Director of Lifetime Learning at the University of Virginia's Office of Engagement. I want to extend a warm welcome to all of our viewers. I'm so pleased that you are joining us this afternoon for our program today, The Well-Being Algorithm: How to Better Manage Your Digital Life. Please note, this program is being recorded and will be posted in our Lifetime Learning vodcast library in a week or so. We received many questions in advance of the program that have been shared with our speaker. If you have a question during the presentation today, you may enter it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. Now, I'll take a moment to introduce our faculty speaker. Professor Angela Orebaugh blends cybersecurity expertise with a passion for digital well-being and mindful tech use. She partners with the Contemplative Science Center and co-edits the Contemplation and Technology Special Edition of the Journal for Contemplative Studies. She created the course Human-Centered Computing for Digital Well-Being, helping students design tech that supports human flourishing. She holds a PhD in engineering from George Mason, an MS in computer science from James Madison, and a Master of Liberal Arts in Sustainability from Harvard. Thank you all for joining us. Professor Orebaugh, I invite you to begin your presentation today.
Thank you so much, John. I'm going to get my slides shared here really quick for everyone. Thank you all for joining me today. As John stated in my introduction, my career has been focused in cybersecurity, but in the past few years, I've developed an interest in contemplative science and well-being. And as a lifelong learner, I completed some additional graduate studies in this area, and I also earned my Digital Wellness Educator certificate. So the areas of contemplative computing and digital well-being are just a really great intersection between computer science and contemplative science. And as John said, I did create a new course on digital well-being where I teach computer science students to develop software and technologies with the human at the center and their well-being as the top priority. Students also address their own digital well-being throughout the course. I also created the Dwell Collective. That is a group of undergraduate computer science students working on research and education in the field of digital well-being. So let's start today with this short 97-second video to start thinking about technology and the impact that it has in our lives.
I think technology in general has been worked into everyone's day-to-day life.
It is the first thing I do when I wake up and when I go to bed.
It's easy to just pick up your phone, turn it on.
Call a ride and just go wherever you want.
New places to eat, new places to explore.
It's great to stay in touch.
I met my girlfriend on online dating apps, so I'd say that's a positive right there.
Do you feel like you're in control of technology, or is technology in control of you?
Oof.
Oh, it's definitely more control of me.
My biggest issue with it is knowing when to stop.
5 and 10 minutes here and there, I feel like takes up a bunch of my day.
I feel like it's in control of me, like if my phone's dead for like half the day or something and I'm going crazy.
I think my math grade is the way it is because of my phone.
Now I notice my eyes are like a little, like I blink a little bit more, they get tired.
He should just throw his phone away.
Usually I feel in control of technology, usually.
Usually I can catch myself and be like, you need to chill out.
I think you have to set a limit and say that you control the phone, it doesn't control you.
I'd say most people hate on technology, but if you're using it for good things, I think it's really helpful.
Well, we think it's important that they do have access to it and learn it.
Technology is not so much as a necessary evil, it's a necessary good that could go either way. You know, the jury's out. It's up to us as to what we do with the technology.
Right, stop that.
I think technology.
There we go. So thanks to Google for putting that together. Before I forward on too far, some of that may have resonated with you. As the gentleman said at the end, there's many benefits to technology, there's conveniences, there's delivering this webinar is a benefit of technology. But he said the jury's out, it's up to us. When we don't have a good balance of technology use, we will start to see the negative impacts of the technology in our lives. So the question is, who is in control? You or your technology? And we'll talk about that control aspect today and the powers at play. The key is to find that balance, the balance that feels right for you. And I will give you some ideas to explore, and I'll give you some practices that you can start right away. Now, there are many definitions of digital well-being, but to keep it simple for us here today, digital well-being is about creating a healthy relationship with technology and finding the right balance for you between your usage, your enjoyment, and distraction. Now, because technology use impacts our attention, our focus, our rest, our connection with others, we want it to support rather than to detract from our mental health, our physical health, and our social health. An important point to make here is that digital well-being is not about just disconnecting from technology. You do not need to untether from your device unless you want to. It's all about relating to it more intentionally. So while technology and digital technology specifically has provided us with so many innovative ways to do things and live our lives, it has also impacted us in negative ways. Jim Quick is a well-known brain coach, and he has summarized the 4 Ds to help us understand these impacts. First, we've got our digital distraction. So our notifications, our social media rabbit holes, likes and comments, all of these, they create the dopamine hits, which we'll talk about today. We have the digital deluge, too much information, not enough time. As a lifetime learner, I suffer from this aspect of it. We're being thrown and thrust into this accelerated learning. It's like speed reading all of the time. We have digital deduction. Technology is reducing our ability to think and to rationalize. We don't apply critical thinking as much because the technology is doing it for us. And yes, this was happening even before AI. AI is just making this even more prominent. The last one, certainly not least, the digital dementia. We're becoming reliant on technology to be our memory, our external hard drive. We don't need to remember things like phone numbers or other information. Think about how many phone numbers you actually know. I know 4 besides my own, and 2 of those are from my childhood. They're landlines from my childhood. So when we rely on our digital devices to store information, we're less likely to remember it over the long term. This will lead to memory loss. Another example of this in the dementia space is our reliance on GPS. That actually leads to decreased spatial memory as well. So digital dementia, it can lead to memory loss. It can lead to attention deficit. It can lead to reduced ability to communicate and impaired decision-making ability as well. I want to start with this challenge because it is the one that most people do. We multitask or we task switch. They're 2 different things. One of the primary effects of modern technology is the way that it increases our overall cognitive load. We think that we are being efficient by multitasking, but most of the time, it's not as efficient as single tasking, also called monotasking. So multitasking. Here we are trying to attempt to perform 2 or more tasks at the same time, and it gives this illusion of simultaneous attention to multiple activities. This can be somewhat effective if the tasks require different cognitive resources. True multitasking is actually pretty rare, and it's typically only possible for tasks that are highly automatic and require a minimal cognitive effort, like listening to music while you're on your daily walk. That would be a good one for multitasking. Most of the time, when we are multitasking, we're creating a higher cognitive load. We're dividing our attention between the tasks. That leads to a decline in the quality of performance on one or even both of those tasks. Some students that I have, they will sit and write a paper while listening to music that has lyrics, not just instrumental. This actually leads to poor performance because both of those tasks are competing for the language processing brain function. Now, a lot of times we think we're multitasking, but what we are really doing is task switching. This is when we shift our focus from one task to another, often in response to an interruption or a lot of times a self-initiated change in focus. So task switching is rapidly alternating attention between tasks, but each switch incurs a cognitive cost, such as the time and the mental effort to reorient back to the original task or to the new task. An example of task switching would be you are sitting at your computer and you are writing an email and you pause because you just saw an alert out of the corner of your eye pop up on your cell phone for a text message. So you stop in the middle of writing your email, switch over to your text message to reply to that, and then you return back to your email. This reduces efficiency because of the mental effort, even though we don't really perceive that it seems like much, the mental effort required to reset each time we return to a task. It increases the likelihood of errors due to our fragmented attention. And these costs do add up significantly, especially in environments with frequent interruption. Excessive task switching back and forth, it impairs our brain's ability to consolidate information into long-term memory. So instead of deeply processing and retaining information, our brain's going to store it superficially. So focusing on one task at a time, monotasking, is more efficient and less stressful than either task switching or multitasking. This is the second biggest challenge for most people: screens at bedtime. The use of screens, particularly before we're going to sleep, disrupts the brain's natural sleep and wake cycle. I know that a lot of people like to wind down scrolling their reels, and it does feel relaxing at first. But the blue light emitted from the screens, it suppresses our melatonin production. That's a hormone essential for sleep. This disruption can lead to chronic sleep deprivation, which adversely affects cognitive performance, our memory consolidation once again, and just our overall emotional well-being. So this blue light exposure to our devices in the evening, it confuses our brain's internal clocks, which is our circadian rhythm. It makes it believe it's still daytime and that we're not winding down. This delay in sleep onset then results in poor sleep quality and shorter duration of sleep. And sleep is really critical for our memory consolidation and cognitive processing. So chronic sleep deprivation due to this excessive screen time can impair these functions, and it can leave us more prone to cognitive errors and just overall forgetfulness. So to answer a question that did come in that I received before the talk, yes, reading on your tablet could be causing you to sleep less. The human brain is remarkably adaptable. It's capable of reshaping itself in response to repeated behaviors and environmental stimuli. And this is known as neuroplasticity. You may have already heard this before in other talks or in the media. Frequent engagement with our digital devices can enhance certain neuropathways and it can diminish others. So, activities such as gaming or using complex software can improve fine motor coordination. It can improve spatial reasoning. It can even improve problem-solving abilities. Hold on to your seats, but there is some research that shows that playing video games can enhance the brain's ability to process visual information and lead to better hand-eye coordination. There is a study, a recent study, in the archives of surgery It showed that surgeons who played video games more than 3 hours each week made 37% fewer surgical errors. They were 27% faster in response times, and they scored 42% better in measures of laparoscopic and suturing skills than the surgeons who did not play any video games. Now, the amount played in that study is greatly less than the average of today's adolescents who average around 9 hours a week. And most of the surgeons were only playing around 19 minutes at a time. So on the flip side, there's also research on excessive gaming, and that has shown a negative correlation with gaming and school performance, aggressive thoughts, emotions, and actions, decreasing positive prosocial behaviors. So it really comes down to moderation and finding that right balance. In addition to gaming, constant exposure to short form content, that's our social media posts, our reels, that is associated with reduced attention spans, increased tendency towards distraction. We are suffering from information overload. Like I mentioned before, the alerts, the notifications, the emails, the calendar reminders, text popping up, news feeds, they all compete for our attention. And studies do indicate that heavy technology users find it harder to engage in sustained attention tasks, to focus for long periods of time because of the neuroplasticity and our brains adapting to constant stimulation and short form content. Now, we're also in that state of continually dividing and shifting our attention across multiple tasks, like with the multitasking and the task switching. We're not fully immersing ourselves, and we're only partially engaging in any one of them. For example, many of you may do this. You scroll your phones while you're also watching something on Netflix or live TV. You're reading a text while you're having a conversation with a family member or a friend. This practice can lead to superficial understanding of the information, definitely the reduced ability to concentrate on any one of those tasks or any piece of information. It leads to reduced productivity, decreased memory retention, and increased stress. Now, certainly the duration and the intensity of screen time significantly affect our brain. It influences areas like the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system as well. And that prolonged screen time has been associated with diminished activity in our prefrontal cortex. That governs higher level functions, things like impulse control and focus. So this leads to difficulties in maintaining that sustained attention that I'm talking about and resisting the ongoing digital distractions. Now, social media and other digital platforms, they are designed to trigger the brain's reward system. And I'm going to talk more about that later and the dopamine associated with it. This creates habitual and addictive behaviors. The users are continually seeking the reward. That reward might be just new content. What's out there? That reward might be likes and comments on a post they just shared, or some other type of digital interaction, like receiving an email from a long lost friend or a text. Over time, this may desensitize the brain to other forms of gratification. It makes it harder for us to feel joy in non-digital activities. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive here into the functions of the brain and the reward system. The brain's reward system, it's this complex network of structures. It includes the ventral tegmental area, we'll just call that VTA for short. It also includes the nucleus accumbens. It also includes the prefrontal cortex. And it's activated by pleasurable activities, and it releases the neurotransmitter dopamine, and that reinforces behaviors by associating them with positive feelings. You do something, you feel good about it, you're happy, you want to do that again. Technology absolutely leverages this system, often leading to habitual and addictive use. Many digital platforms are purposely designed to deliver these small, unpredictable rewards. For example, social media, the likes, the comments, the shares, they trigger this sense of validation for many. Gaming, we've got achievements, loot boxes, level ups. These create this cycle of anticipation and reward. The notifications that pop up, just receiving a message or an alert provides a sense of importance or a sense of urgency. The intermittent reinforcement strengthens the habit of constantly checking your phone, constantly checking the apps, constantly engaging with the technology repeatedly. This is why we are always picking up our phones, which is a very difficult habit to break. These rewards, they're called variable rewards. So if you see that out there in the literature somewhere, variable rewards, it's because the outcome is unpredictable and it is very similar to gambling. Think about our social media feed. When you refresh your social media feed, you don't know what content will appear next. It's a variable reward. If you're scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, just not knowing what really cool video might be next, that's a variable reward. Checking email constantly, or at least frequently, for good emails. We get a lot of junk mail, but every now and then we get that great email from a friend or that great email for a new opportunity. That's our reward. It's variable though. It's that unpredictability that makes behavior highly engaging and difficult to stop. Now, then we have the algorithms. The algorithms tailor this content to individual preferences. This keeps us hooked by serving exactly what we are most likely to engage with. It reinforces that habitual use. We feel that the content is uniquely rewarding to us and it's catered directly to our interest. Features like the scene indicator or follower counts and likes, they all tap into that human need for social validation and connection. Users become dependent then on technology to fulfill their social needs, often at the expense of actual real world interactions. So why are digital systems built with these tricks and techniques? Because of the attention economy. Human attention is a limited resource and it's very valuable in the digital world. Companies, platforms, content creators, they compete for the user's attention and it directly translates to profits, whether that's through ad revenue, subscriptions, or other business models. In the attention economy, the more we spend engaging with content, the more valuable we become for advertisers and for content providers. So platforms use algorithms and design strategies to capture and hold our attention. And the companies are also collecting vast amounts of personal data, and they use that to predict and influence our behavior. So this data-driven personalization keeps us hooked by serving us content we are more likely to engage with, often reinforcing existing beliefs and preferences as well. This can lead to something called filter bubbles, where users are really only exposed to information that aligns with their current existing beliefs. It can also lead to echo chambers, where controversial or polarizing content gets amplified. Now, the attention economy, because of that, it does fuel societal and political polarization. Algorithms that prioritize sensational, divisive content, it drives engagement. It really, really does. That in turn reinforces and creates more echo chambers and it deepens these societal divides. This content often misrepresents reality. It stokes misinformation. It makes it harder for users to discern fact from fiction. So that attention economy, it negatively impacts our well-being. It's a constant engagement-driven tactic that leads to our overconsumption, digital addiction, and a lot of times our decreased mental health as well. Many digital devices and platforms are designed specifically to be highly engaging. So on this slide, I just wanted to show you what a few of those design strategies and tactics are. Infinite scroll, you can scroll forever. Autoplay, you're done watching your episode on Netflix, the next one begins immediately. Well, there's a little countdown timer, and then it begins. Notifications and alerts and reactions, they all capture and retain our attention. We've got personalized content tagged with phrases like "for you" or "you might also like." We've got gamification like loot boxes, streaks, variable rewards for playing and engaging. Our pull to refresh. When we're on some of our apps and we pull down to refresh our timelines and our feed, that actually mimics a slot machine lever. You don't know what you're going to get next. You're pulling the slot machine. It's a variable reward. It keeps you checking. It keeps you doing the pull to refresh. The use of bright colors, animations, interactive elements, and application designs, it stimulates the user's brain. Bright colors are used to capture our attention, especially red for urgency. Even the one-click actions, the buy now, the save, the subscribe, it makes it a lot easier. It makes it very tempting. And then ... That ... can stand for, and there's many more because there are, but also it stands for the typing indicator. When you're sending a message to someone and they're replying back, you get the ... It causes you to wait to stay engaged. So algorithms decide what we see. These design features influence how long we stay. Together, they shape how we interact with technology without us even realizing it for the most part. This can lead to addiction. These design tactics and overuse have caused digital addiction, technology addiction for many, many people. A sign of compulsive use. That is when we are checking devices frequently, even interrupting other activities to do so. Our tolerance increases. This causes us to spend increasing amounts of time on our digital devices to achieve that same level of satisfaction. Over time, that constant stimulation from these variable digital rewards can lead to a dopamine desensitization. So the brain becomes less responsive to both digital and real world rewards. And so it requires more engagement to feel the same pleasure. We may experience anxiety, irritability, and restlessness when we're not using technology. We may start allowing technology use to interfere with our work, with our school, with our relationships. And chronic technology addiction can reduce activity in that prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for our impulse control and decision making, making it even harder for us to regulate our usage. Now that was a lot. Let's take a breath and a break from the negative impacts. Let's remind ourselves of the positive impacts of technology when used mindfully. So I want to give you a few examples here. These are also examples of what we call positive computing. Problem solving and critical thinking. Interactive digital tools like games and simulations can stimulate strategic thinking and problem solving abilities by engaging in the right levels our prefrontal cortex. Apps that are designed for brain training, such as Luminosity or Elevate, they help improve working memory and long-term memory through structured, repetitive exercises. Assistive technologies, such as speech-to-text programs or apps designed for individuals with learning disabilities, provide crucial support that can improve cognitive function and quality of life. Digital tools tailored to individuals with ADHD, dyslexia, or autism can enhance specific cognitive functions, such as attention regulation, language processing, and social skills as well. Mindful use of educational platforms or apps promote our neuroplasticity, so the brain's ability to form new connections and adapt to learning experiences. Right on the heels of that, digital tools like language learning apps like Duolingo or coding platforms, they enhance the development of new neural pathways related to those skills. Some of my favorites, the mindfulness and meditation apps, guided meditation platforms like Headspace, Calm, Insight, they activate the parasympathetic nervous system. They reduce stress. They foster emotional regulation by promoting relaxation and awareness. Apps with binaural beats or soundscapes can help regulate our brainwave activity, supporting states of calmness, focus, or creativity. Apps designed for therapies like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, or stress management can help rewire negative thought patterns and promote emotional resilience. And then lastly, but certainly not least, platforms that encourage practices like gratitude journaling or positive affirmations can activate the brain's reward circuits in a positive way, boosting mood and fostering optimism. So we have a lot of really great examples of positive computing, and this is just a few. Now let's start focusing on some practices. That is what we are here for. What can we do to combat the attention economy and all of those design tactics that are trying to keep us engaged? I'm going to start with some high level, and then I'm going to move into some more detail on the next few slides. So certainly first, set those boundaries. These can be time-based or place-based, time-bound or place-bound. So examples here, limit your work communications when you're outside of designated work hours, or establish a device-free time or a device-free zone. So your device-free time could be during meals. Your device-free zone could be in the bedroom. Filter your information. Practice selective engagement, especially on social media, by unfollowing and muting sources of negativity, anything that you feel is harmful to your well-being. And this is a big one. Retrain your algorithms. Yeah, you can do it. So if you are scrolling and you click on something that you're like, what is this? Especially the ones that say you won't believe this. You click on that, you watch it, you're going to get more of that. You've just put that into your algorithm. Even if you're scrolling and you just linger on something, that's likely going to be added to your algorithm. So to retrain our algorithms, what we need to do is linger, like, and save on content that supports our well-being. If that's those cat and dog videos, by all means, linger, like, and save on more cat and dog videos. Unfollow or scroll past what doesn't support your well-being. On both Facebook and Instagram, for every post, there's 3 dots at the top right-hand corner. When you click on that, you'll get an option of either not interested or hide, and you can get rid of those. That will help reprogram and retrain your algorithm as well. Be intentional about what you engage with. If you click or even pause on a baiting video, you will get more of it. Prioritize your downtime. So schedule time for restorative activities like hobbies, time with friends and family, or meditation to allow our brains to reset. Engage in activities that require a sustained effort. So reading an actual book, working on a creative project, creating an exercise goal. This all rewires our brain's reward system for these long-term rewards. Practice your single tasking, your monotasking. Focus on one task at a time to reduce that cognitive load and that cognitive strain. And overall, just engaging in mindfulness. Techniques like mindfulness, meditation, just deep breathing, just sitting in nature can help manage, regain, and strengthen focus. It can help improve our emotional responses and maintain clarity, just lower our stress overall. A few more. Let's get into a few more specifics here. The gatekeepers. Few different examples here of using gatekeepers. You can use app blockers. So many people will need this. Some folks, they might say, you know what? I'm pretty good at monitoring myself. I'm only going to I'm going to set those boundaries like the last slide. I'm only going to look at social media between 7 and 8 o'clock at night. And they're really good at that. Some folks might need some gatekeepers. They might need some app blockers to help limit their usage. So a friend of mine, I was just talking with her 2 days ago and found out that she just started using a brick. That's what you see, this little square on the slide, that little image. It's a small little square device that you tap your phone to, and it locks you out of your apps and websites that you have pre-set up and chosen for certain time periods, whatever you set that to be. So what she does is she locks herself out of social media and games for the workday, with the exception of lunch. And then she also locks herself out again for a few hours in the evening. And she has noticed, she's only recently started doing this, but that she has noticed that she is more focused and productive, and she's starting to break the habit of constantly picking up the phone. You can also turn off non-essential notifications to reduce that pull of constant alerts where you see something pop up on your phone. Certain things you might want to see pop up on your phone. For me, I do want to see if a text message pops up. I do want to see if my Ring doorbell is alerted. I want those to pop up on the home screen. My restaurant apps, my grocery store apps, no. I turned off notifications for those. So you can go through and decide which things do you find essential and you want those notifications, and then clear the rest out. Don't forget about the sounds for alerts. For example, one of the alerts that I do still let pop up on my home screen is for the Libby app. That's for connecting digitally to your local library, and you can borrow digital books and digital audiobooks. If I have something on hold, it will send me a notification. I do want that to pop up because they'll take it away if you don't respond quick enough, but I have the sound turned off. I don't need to be alerted by sound for that. I also have my sound turned off for all text all the time. So if anyone texts me in the middle of the night, that's fine. I'll see it when I wake up in the morning. It'll be there, but it won't wake me up. You can also use focus modes or the do not disturb modes on your phones during meals, during family time, when you're winding down for bed. One of the most effective strategies is to keep the devices out of reach during your relaxation time to break that automatic checking loop. So charge your devices in another room overnight, if possible. Keep your device out of reach during your Zoom meeting. Next up is designing our intentional interactions. So we want to use our technology with a purpose. That purpose could be connecting with a loved one, rather than just using it for these habitually or passively scrolling types of activities. So before opening your app or your browser, pause and ask, why am I opening this? Set intentional goals. Okay, my goal is I'm checking the news for the next 10 minutes, rather than just endless scrolling. You can also batch your intake. Brick and batch is what my friend is doing. So what I started naming it brick and batch. You can batch your intake. So you can say between 8 and 9 at night, I get free reign of everything. I'm going to scroll every single reel, every single TikTok video, whatever it means. But you've got that whole hour to kind of batch your intake. You can check your news, you can check your social media, and you're doing this at fixed times on a timer rather than repeatedly throughout the day. You're waiting for the bus, you're standing in line. Set that time though, when you are batching, for about 30 minutes. 30 minutes to an hour. That is what's recommended. Definitely practice this one screen rule. It comes back to our single tasking. Limit to one intentional screen at a time. If you're watching something on TV or streaming it on your laptop, keep the phone out of reach so that you are not dual screening. This one also effective during Zoom calls. So everyone out there, I hope that your phone is out of reach. Rest and refresh. Okay, create a digital sunset. Stop all screens between 30 to 60 minutes before sleep. That 60 is even better, an hour before you go to sleep. Stop all screens. If that's hard for you and you do like to use your screen to wind down, then dim the lighting on it, put it in that night shift mode, use a blue light filter, whatever you can do to help filter that out. Better than that, though, try to replace your digital wind down time with something we call analog, old school, journaling, stretching, reading an actual book in print. And then also on top of that, part of our rest and refresh, avoid checking your devices for the first hour after you wake up. This one can be hard. I mean, my morning routine, wake up, get my tea for the morning, then check my email and my text, whatever may have come in overnight. So I can prepare for my day, check my calendar, which I usually do that the night before, check it again. The other morning, though, I got up, made my tea. I knew that I was going to be in a little bit of a rush because of my calendar, and I hadn't made anything for lunch. I had to cook some couscous and I had to cook some lentils that morning. So I'm like 6:30 in the morning, drinking my tea at the stove, cooking some couscous and lentils. By the time I was done prepping everything I needed to prep for lunch and doing my other chores, and I went to go get ready for work, it was probably 2, 3 hours later. I realized I had not even looked at my email or anything else until later. And you know what? I was fine. I didn't even really miss it. So I might need to try cooking in the morning more often. Practice your digital minimalism. Perform an app audit. Keep those that serve your personal values, those that are maybe connection oriented or learning or bring you joy. But we probably all have way too many apps that we don't really need, and we have apps that likely negatively impact our digital well-being. And then certainly, by all means, practice a digital detox, also called a technology sabbatical. Plan sometimes to disconnect entirely or at least significantly reduce your usage. When you're doing that, you should be increasing your analog activities such as art, music, nature, cooking, sports and fitness. And this digital detox, it doesn't mean lock your phone away for a week. It doesn't even mean lock it away for an entire weekend unless you want to. Short digital breaks measurably reduce stress and increase our well-being. And this is supported by a number of digital detox studies out of Stanford. Now, here's some guidance for a digital detox from the digital well-being class that I teach. It's one of the most powerful parts of the course. It's the technology sabbatical, a hands-on experiment where the students first observe all of their digital habits. They set personal digital well-being goals, and they practice mindful technology use. Now, these are undergraduate computer science majors, mostly third and fourth year, so they are very much used to being deeply immersed in technology. In the very first week of classes, the students conduct a 48-hour technology use assessment. They track how, when, and why they use technology to better understand their current technology habits and that impact on their well-being. They're thinking about that too. Now, this includes tracking time spent on their smartphones, their computers and laptops, their tablets, their TVs, their gaming consoles, pretty much any digital device that they have. They do all of this tracking using a spreadsheet that we give them. And they're also using a few different apps. You can use on iPhone, you can use Apple Screen Time. And on Android, you can use the Digital Wellbeing app. So after this 48-hour assessment, they identify 2 or 3 personal goals for a multi-week sabbatical that they'll do during the rest of the course. At the end of the course, they answer 6 reflection questions about their progress, challenges, insights, and future goals. Now, this is a big list, but it's an aggregated list of the tech sabbatical goals that the students worked on. Some of these we've already talked about. You can use these at home, maybe at work. Some of these might be a little bit different than what we've already talked about. A lot of them definitely scheduled this screen-free spaces, specifically bedroom and study areas. They certainly set screen-free hours. A lot of them liked to do right before bed, first thing in the morning. The physical barriers, I was amazed at actually how many students decided to do that. Sleep with their phone in a different room so that they weren't even tempted. So they would charge it out in the living room somewhere. A few of them started the day offline, not as popular as the other, trying to stay away from the phone for the first hour. A few went an entire weekend. They dedicated an entire weekend to unplugging. Definitely very, very common was that start and end time for technology. Many of them set the cutoff at 9 p.m. to stop all screens before bed. Some of them actually bought a blue light filter or blue light glasses to help reduce some eye strain. They also incorporated more of these analog activities. Many of them said they started finding joy again in reading physical books. Many of them were starting to enjoy journaling and meditation as well. A lot of them did app cleanses. Some removed social media entirely. I was kind of shocked about that. Now, at the end of class, I'm sure maybe some of those socials got added back on, but they at least tried it. A lot of them turned off a lot of notifications. They just said they were overwhelmed by notifications. So they did a notification cleanse as well. They're really good at using their do not disturb mode. A lot of them are actually used to using that already for when they're driving, but they use it for when they're studying as well. They set some time limits, especially the gamers. I had a good handful of gamers in the class, and they sat like maybe an hour gaming time, which was really good because some of them were gaming for multiple hours a day. Remember, this was summer. I taught this class in the summer, so their course load was probably just my class at that point. They definitely started engaging in more non-digital activities, and I was so excited to read their write-ups about the things that they were doing. Creative writing, art, and music, hobbies like cooking and gardening and board games were popular. But also, I was even more happy to read about their in-person social activities. They were having movie nights with friends where everyone would put their phones in a basket. I was loving that. They were also spending more time outdoors. A few students wrote how they were, since they were at home for the summer, this class was online, they were walking more with their parents and deepening their connection with their parents by just getting out and going for walks. And it was great for all of them. And then the mindfulness practices, they did take up some meditation, some yoga. They were working on contemplative practices, spending time in prayer and reflection, some just sitting in nature. And this is just a few quotes from the sabbatical reflection statements from the students. They improved their rest and sleep. They saw a remarkable improvement in that. They also saw a big improvement in their focus and productivity, and they saw a big improvement in their decrease of anxiety. So we saw a number of themes that small changes made big impacts. So I thank you all for joining today. Now remember, digital well-being, it's about the choices that we make. In a world where content is infinite, the real skill is not finding more, it's choosing wisely. And digital well-being isn't about avoiding our technology, it's about aligning our attention with what truly matters to us. So as we move into the questions, and as you log off and return to your day, I do want you to think, what is one small choice I can make this week to improve my digital well-being? So I thank you, and I'm going to move to questions now. There we go. All right. Now, here's a question. Even after blocking social media apps on my phone for hours at a time, I still find myself picking up my phone. Is there any backtracking from this state of things? Yes, this will decrease over time, but it does take a while to break the habit. Physically setting the phone far away helps. When you're in line at the grocery store, or sitting and waiting for the bus, or having other downtime, that's when you're going to need to be more aware and more intentional about not just picking up your phone to fill that time. Apple Screen Time will track your pickups, and it can be very enlightening. My students use this. Some of them had 200, 300 pickups throughout the day. My friend who's doing the brick and batch, she specifically brought this up, the constant habit of reaching for your phone. And she said it was at least the good first week until she noticed a difference where she wasn't reaching to her phone all the time. So it certainly will take some time. I see a few different questions about wearing the blue light glasses or getting blue light filters. Yes, they do help. So I do recommend those. Oh, these are jumping around, and I just saw one. Okay, I wanted to address this one. Wondering what your thoughts are on puzzles and games, because I am a puzzle gal. I don't play games on my phone so much anymore. That are played on the phone. Is that positive or more addictive? It's that fine line. So I do play some on my phone. I have a lot of friends who play a lot of the mind games, Sudoku, things like that on the phone, because that actually is really great, especially as we're aging, to continue to keep those circuits active in our brain. It's just minimizing that. Set time limits on it. Don't do it right before bed because of the blue light. So do it earlier in the day. But yeah, playing the games on your phone, especially ones that are helping to build these skills, are absolutely okay. Now, when you get to the point that you're obsessing about it, honestly, I had to get rid of Words with Friends because I started obsessing about it. I was stressing about checking it at night and making all of my plays. That's when it started to feel unhealthy to me. So it's that balance and what works best for you. There is the question, is there a process to intentionally optimize your social media algorithms for specific topics, such as funny cat videos or physical fitness? What does it look like? I did address some of this. Yes, click, pause, linger, and like more of those cat videos or the physical fitness videos and that content, any of the content that brings you joy, and enhances your well-being, aligns with your values. Scroll on by, click hide or not interested on the others. Now, believe me, there's definitely been some things that I'm watching that's not my profile of videos is typically dog videos and exercise workout videos. So sometimes something else might pop up that grabs my attention. I really want to watch that, but I know it's going to change my algorithm. Sometimes I'm okay with that. I watch that, it changes my algorithm. That just means I spend more time watching workout videos and dog videos later to shift it back. So you can alter your algorithm. And honestly, it doesn't take that long to alter it. Let's see here. The rabbit hole has already gotten so large. How does one filter out the soon to be compelling AI videos? They are not soon to be compelling. They are. They're already here. And this is a very big challenge and one that I've been struggling with lately because often when we're scrolling and we're clicking, we don't know it's an AI video until after we've already viewed it and then probably read at least the first 20 comments that say, this is fake, this is AI. I know many people have done that. AI content is often highly engaging, emotionally charging, and hard to ignore. It's called clickbait. It'll have things like you won't believe, and you're gonna want to. What happened? I want to see what happened. I want to believe. Am I not gonna believe? If something gives you any of these feelings, it's very engaging, it's emotionally charging, then move on. Move on. If it looks too funny, if it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Scroll past quickly and you're not interested. This is infiltrating my dog videos right now. And I am struggling with this because I do like dog videos. And now all of a sudden I've gotten these husky videos where huskies are overreacting at the vet. They're super adorable. They're all AI. And I'm very saddened by that. I feel like that's a not great use for AI. Let's see. What else do I have here? Do Zoom meetings with friends count as in-person contact? Yes and no. We did a lot of this at the beginning of COVID. My friends and I had regular Zoom meetings. And so it does help have that social connection because you're interacting in real time. Zoom can be tricky, whether it's just interacting socially with friends or being in a meeting or a webinar like this. Because when you do have everyone on the screen, it's actually a big difference in the way that we're focusing and the way that we're intensely looking at each other that we don't actually do when we might just be sitting around the table at a restaurant. So it can be more fatiguing, but it does still fill that social connection. And like I said, we did a lot of that in 2020. Quick check on time. Got a couple more minutes here. Okay, so here's one that I definitely want to make sure I address. Is there content like this that can be shared to educate my middle school aged kids? Have you seen any good resources? Yes, there's a site, a group called Common Sense Media. So Common Sense Media. They have a free digital citizenship curriculum that's geared towards teens. So check that out, digital citizenship curriculum at Common Sense Media. There's also two books that I would recommend. There's one called Growing Up in Public by Deborah Heimer. There's another one called You Are What You Click by Brian Pritnick. That one, the You Are What You Click, that can be applicable to teens and adults as well. So it's not actually specifically written for middle schoolers, whereas Growing Up in Public is written for younger, our youth. So I highly recommend all of those. And then here's a good one, and I have several points to this one that I want to point out in our last 1 minute here. How do I stop my phone from, quote, listening to me or tracking my shopping and then flooding my Instagram with ads? Yes, it happens to all of us. It feels like it's listening to us, and maybe 10% of me still wonders if it is, but really, the data, our phones just know us really well, and the data is being tracked and the data is being shared across apps. You visit a website, ads follow you to Instagram or Facebook. It's called retargeting. There's a word for it. So here's some of the things that you can do. And you might want to get your pencil ready. You have permission to pick up your phones to type in the notes if you would like to do that, because I'll tell you a few little settings that you can do to address this. If you are on an iPhone, you can go to settings, then go to privacy and security, then to tracking. Turn off allow apps to request to track. You can also go to settings, privacy, Apple advertising, turn off personalized ads. If you're on an Android, you can go to settings, privacy, ads, turn on delete advertising ID, or opt out of ad personalization. Now, on your platforms, specifically Facebook and Instagram, you can go up to settings, account center, add preferences, manage info. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's at least 4 clicks to get to this. They don't make it all that easy. Settings, account center, add preferences, manage info. Once you get there, there's actually a lot of different things. I'm not going to list them here. There's many different settings there. Things like categories that are used to reach you, activity from partners. You can walk through those and turn on or off what you need. Don't forget your web browser though, because that was the original question. I'm shopping for something on my web browser and now I'm seeing the ads. At least if you're on Safari or Chrome, you can go to settings and you can block third-party cookies. That will help. You can also regularly clear your browsing history and clear your cookies. But what's even better than that is if you use the private or incognito browsing. If you're familiar with that, there's a setting in both of those browsers that you can go incognito and private, and it turns off all of these things automatically for you. So I recommend that. But looking at time, I've hit my time and I need to call John back in.
Thanks so much, Professor Orebaugh, for sharing these insights into how to manage an increasingly complex digital footprint. I know our audience has learned a great deal from your expertise, And these practical tips that you shared today are certainly going to serve me well, and I hope they serve our audience equally well. To discover more lifetime learning content, please visit our website at engagement.virginia.edu/learn. I also invite you to register for our next webinar on April 9th, titled Transforming Grounds for Future Generations, to hear about the several transformational projects occurring at the university. Thank you again, Professor Orebaugh, and thank you, audience. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon and evening.